Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my guest is Edward Okopny. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He says the EJO Zone, it's another way of living, another way of looking at life. Why do we worry so much? And is happiness lost because we don't have a passion in life? What is his why? Well, he has a simple answer for us. He's a happy person sharing encouragement. To live happily is a way of giving back. I like that. When you're happy, you give back. It's important for him to leave people better off than he found them. And overcoming challenges through innovation. When our world changes, we sometimes have to get creative to adapt to the new normal. And it's amazing how challenges can inspire us. He's an entrepreneur. He is a pioneer. And he's also starting a wonderful new platform that's bringing people together, because together we are stronger. And we've seen this message over the last few months. We're all in it together. And it's not a condescending comment. It is meaning that everywhere in the world, they're all facing the same type of crisis or challenge. And our attitude at the present moment, even our gratitude for what we do have, is imperative if we do want to hit down that happiness road. Right, Edward? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful to be here. Pleased to be your guest, Sarah, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
I like the comment of, we can't help but worry right now, because it's like, well, what if, and don't know about COVID for 15 days, and what if I go there and infect someone else, or, what about the economics, or what about this, and that, those what ifs can just build up on hysteria. And we know it breaks the immune system down and it makes you more vulnerable. But a lot of people will say, Randy, well, how do we step into happiness right now? Well, that's a personal journey, isn't it? And when you do step into your own gratitude, then you can actually find that happiness deep inside, can't you?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. For me, gratitude is the food of happiness. And I think I was born without the worry gene, because I've never had worry in my life.
Lucky you.
And so when I hear you describe that we can't help but worry, I don't hear that, because I believe we can. You see, not worrying doesn't make everything sweet and great and make all of our problems go away. Not worrying doesn't do any of that.
No.
What not worrying does is gives us internal peace to survive the difficult times.
Absolutely.
Instead of compounding them to make them more difficult. Because for me, worry is simply using your imagination against yourself. It's imagining a negative outcome at a future time, it's not yet occurred, and in most cases never does. Yet the worrier will tell you, well, I worry because I want to be prepared for the worst. There's no such thing. There's no preparing for the worst. We deal with what we're presented with at the time we are presented with it. All worry does is ruin the time between now and that mythical period of time where something's supposed to happen. And it goes in conjunction with the idea of expectation, where I have no expectation in my life. I've replaced expectation with hope. So for me, my life is literally void of worry and void of expectation. My life is all about hope, knowing that tomorrow will be a brighter day, and not concerning myself with the difficulties that I do not have control over. I simply need to adapt to what I'm presented with and move myself forward as best I can. And if I do that, it makes me so much better for everyone around me.
So you've chosen to live in a place of gratitude in the now, instead of looking at what the challenges and the barriers are as being all consuming, looking at them as, well, what creative ways can I face them? Or do I have to face them? You know, is there another direction I go? Is there another way I can go and not even feed the problem?
And there always is another.
It's another choice, isn't it? We
It
think we
really
only
is.
got one choice. No, we have many choices.
So
Switch
many.
the creativity on.
It's yes, our outlook is determined by us,
Mm-hmm.
not some outside force.
Mm-hmm.
So many people are victims of their thoughts, and you'll hear things like, I can't help that I feel this way. I can't help that I think this way. This happened, and what am I? Well, you have a way of taking control of all of that, but it's not easy, especially if you've never practiced it.
Yeah.
And there are steps to go through to achieve that. But you're right. Gratitude is about appreciating where we're at this moment, and appreciating even the simplest things in life, like that morning cup of coffee, if coffee is your thing. It, it, it's finding joy in even the simplest things in life. And if you can do that, it makes the big, amazing things fantastic. And it gives you strength to combat the difficult things, to, overcome the challenges that life does throw at us. Because having the most positive attitude, living in gratitude, not having worry, and looking towards the future with only hope doesn't make you impervious to trauma or challenge or difficulty. They all exist. It just helps you better address them.
You're not in la la land. You know, cumbia, oh, I can't hear it, I can't see it, so therefore it's not there. You know,
nothing to do with that.
You are more equipped to deal with it. You know when to take that breath, recenter yourself, look at what really the issue is before you. What tools do I have in my backpack that I can use in this moment to deal with this challenge that is before me? And don't go down the what if.
No, and we all have that tool set within us. It's sometimes just takes a bit more looking to find the necessary tools to accommodate it. The idea of when a negative thought enters your mind, having enough positive thoughts and dreams, aspirations and visions to be able to switch the channel to something.
Yes.
My mind is full of these things. I've got visions of what I want to do. I've got plans. I've got dreams. I've always been a dreamer. I believe our world has been built by dreamers, not realists. And I've had people say to me, it must be nice to live in your world. And my response is, yeah.
Yes, you should try it.
It really is.
The water's lovely. Come on and join it. I think, I'm a True Colors coach. So, the 4 key personality traits. And those traits are very much kind of the DNA of how we are going to receive information and how we're going to interact with people. And you can have 4 different people look at exactly the same issue, challenge, and each one of them will see it in a different way. But if everybody put that thought down on the table, then you've got a 3D version of it. You'll understand that everybody's perspective is actually, right. But when we put it all together and see it as a whole picture, now we've got something to work with to find a solution. But we don't do that, do we? We seem to go off on our own instead of looking to collaborate with people that maybe think differently, so we can see the issues 3D on, not face on.
And I think you've nailed it with the word collaboration.
Yes.
I
Big
truly
word in my books.
believe that is the key for our successful future. If we have leadership that learns to adopt a collaborative mindset from a servant leadership perspective, it will open the door for so much more momentum forward.
Yes.
It will allow us all, because collaboration simply gives everyone involved a voice where they might not otherwise have had one before. And that voice is so uplifting to have that realization when maybe your voice is you've never thought your voice could be heard, but to recognize that what you say does have value. It elevates everyone in the room.
Absolutely. I have a metaphor which I use is, in our self-discovery of our instrument or of our voice, learning to manifest it to the best it can be, learn that instrument. use your voice, then find your orchestra or find your choir. And that everybody in that orchestra has a different instrument, or may have the same instrument as you, but plays it in a different way. Everybody's valuable. Everybody contributes then to the whole. And it's people think that becoming one means abstaining, being self. It's being the best self you can be to bring it to the collective one.
Yes. And that speaks to the idea of self-love and taking care of oneself. I mean, yes, we need to look after those around us. It's what we're built to do. But if we don't take care of ourselves first, and it's not being a centrist attitude, it's about understanding the better I take care of here, the better I am out there, the better I am for everyone, my family, my loved ones, my friends, my coworkers. The better I take care of where I live, the better I am.
Right. The old oxygenate yourself first, right? And if you're full, your cup will run over. But if you're depleted, how are you going to help anyone? It's going to end up in their dire straits and them trying to help you. And, I was referring to life as a village. Everybody in the village has a job to do. And that village is only as strong as they are in coming together, collectively collaborating, working together. But each one of them brings their own strength to it. So we have to discover what is our strength. And, a big word that you brought out, that you sent me that I put in that one line, what is happiness? Well, if you don't have a passion for something, how are you going to know what happiness is? Because happiness is a passion for something that moves you beyond self, beyond everything. It's a passion to do, a passion to serve, a passion to give. And that brings you such joy. But if you don't know what your passion is, then a lot of the time you're chasing tail.
And that's the sad reality for this planet. Most people don't ever pause long enough to consider what their passion is. They're so tied up with their day-to-day, just trying to either, pay that bill, make that dollar, do that thing, that they don't sit back long enough to recognize, are they happy with what they're doing? Are they pursuing what they wish to? And the whole idea of realizing one's passion, that it puts you in your purpose.
Yes.
Your passion, you'll realize your purpose. And once that's realized, the internal value that you start to feel, that inner strength, that inner voice stops being negative, starts being positive, and helps you move forward. And in so doing, allows you to help others move forward.
It becomes a core value, doesn't it? Obviously doing these shows, I get many people approaching, come and join my group, come and join my company, come and join this and that. And I say, I am so happy to collaborate. I'm so happy to support. My business is to share this wisdom out with everyone. But if it doesn't agree with my core, that doesn't mean I don't agree with what you're doing. It's not my path. And I've found my path. And when my core is in sync, then I know this is the path I continue on. I can elaborate and grow in this path, but not to deviate by being, the carrot in front of you, that maybe this is better, you'll make more money that way, or you'll get more fame that way. If something means something to you at the core, you can't compromise that. That's your truth.
I could not agree more. Finding your passion isn't about finding the dollar of it.
Right.
Finding your passion is about finding what you want to wake up for every day. Finding your passion eliminates Sunday nights being a difficult evening.
Yeah.
It ceases making Wednesdays that day where you're planning for Fridays. Every day becomes a Saturday when you're pursuing your passion.
And it's not work, is it?
No.
When you actually are in passion of what you do, I put a lot of hours into this, and they say, oh, you work too much. And I say there's a certain aspect of it that I consider work, because it's not the fun part. It's the part, the nuts and bolts of it. But the parts that I do, that I love so much, I don't consider work, even though it is my livelihood, it's my business. I'm not working, I'm sharing the passion.
I agree wholeheartedly.
But to get there, that's the thing, right? You have this wonderful site that is not quite yet up yet, and the I'm just going to go to look at it again. Where did you go? Really doesn't want to come up. Typical. I've had wonderful technical problems lately. I think there's just simply too many people online at the moment.
Everybody's online right now.
Exactly. But, I love what you've got here. Explain what the EJO zone is, and, that there is another way. Yeah, this is something that you haven't quite yet launched yet, but is coming. And go ahead, please explain what it is, because I like the general concept of it. There's always another way.
It's understanding that there's a positive way to look at everything in life, and to not have to be weighed down by the challenges that occur outside of your person. Mm-hmm. A perfect example was when the Notre Dame Cathedral was on fire.
Yeah.
And all over the news, it hit our news here in Toronto at 6 p.m. And all the coverage was people crying and screaming, and they spoke about how even in the war, mm-hmm. everyone avoided this wonderful structure. Yeah. But in so describing it, they've also talked about the fact that it had been under renovations for the previous decade.
Eons,
and it was a rolling renovation. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing all of this going on, and my perspective was different than what I was hearing. I saw everything that could come from this. I saw a country that had been in strife that could hopefully be brought together by this. I saw an opportunity for this project to get such an influx of funds that perhaps they could do all of the work at one time, and actually have it free of scaffolding and renovation work, and have it renewed, basically.
And it's a renewed hope, isn't it? Because really it transcends religion.
Yes.
It's these iconic buildings, they've stood the test of time. They've seen everything that's gone on, and they're still there for us. And it doesn't matter what religion you are, and that's the reason why they weren't bombed, out of respect, for that longitude of life. My house caught fire and was gutted, and we had been doing a renovation, and it had ended up being a horrible renovation because the people that this guy brought in were Mickey Mouse people. And I think the reason why the house caught fire is they put 32 sockets on one switch, and something fused, and off we went. So it ended up our house getting rebuilt all at once, properly. And this had been like a 2.5-year renovation. And although it was traumatic, what we ended up with finally was something that was more solid. So whatever we look at the moment and go, oh, the crisis, oh no. It's an invitation, to look at, okay, what is to come out of this? How can this be a better result? It's okay to have a reaction. You have to have a reaction. You're human. But don't get stuck in that reaction. Don't give in to despair, because all it is an opportunity to go another way.
Yes, and sometimes we are redirected to find that other way. And I live by the words, something great will come of this.
Yes.
I live by these words because inevitably it's true, always, without fail. And for people hearing this and thinking, oh, come on, think back to some things you've gone through that you had no idea of where it was going to take you, but like you, mm-hmm. you ended up with something better than you began with.
Yes.
And you had to go through a challenge.
Yep.
But it ended up in the right place.
Yes.
It ended up where it was supposed to be.
If you don't get stuck, in the trauma, I say, all of our emotions are an indication of what's going on in our lives at the moment. So look at that emotion, angry, sad, upset, joyful, whatever. What is it you're doing at that time to bring out that emotion? Look at it and address it, but don't get emotional about it, because what happens, we get stuck in the trauma of the emotion and we don't realize it's only an indicator at that moment. It's not for you to stay there.
No, no, exactly. And that's why it's so healthy to look forward.
Yeah.
As if you have that constant vision, it allows you to carry through those moments where you feel perhaps lost.
Mm-hmm.
I had an experience living at Sick Kids Hospital with my son. He's fine. But
Good.
I lived at Sick Kids Hospital with him for 255 nights.
Mm.
And in the middle of that stay, I didn't know when he was going to get out, how he was going to get out, how that was going to look. I had no idea. And part of the challenge was when we were in our weekly and bi-weekly meetings with the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great hospital. The hospital we were at, Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, fantastic hospital. But for what Eric needed, they were not equipped.
Right.
And they would share with us, we don't think outside the box here. And as a parent, it's not what you want to hear.
No.
But our medical world is not like it is on TV. And I remember feeling like I didn't know where it was going to go, but understanding that something great would come of it. And I can look back now and I can layer out like a laundry list of positive things that occurred from that extremely difficult time in our lives.
The thing about difficult times, and of course when it comes to a kid, that's something that hits the core very easily. But when it does come to that, it's the thing about life is you've got to be willing to go through it. You can't abstain from it. You can't say, I'll miss this chapter and catch you up later. You've got to go through the process. So it's take that deep breath. What have I got before me? What am I empowered to do? And a lot of the time, it's empowering the person that is in the trauma, in the difficulty, or who is sick, because we have such incredible self-healing inside of us. And I've interviewed so many people who've cured their own cancer, cured their own things by changing the way they treat their bodies, treat themselves, and the positive thinking. And I know for some people think it's la-la, but it isn't. It changes your frequency in your body and your energy in your body, and that feeds the body something differently. But it gives you the opportunity to explore and to seek, but also to discover how strong, how courageous, how able you are. And I think that's part of the journey in life, isn't it? Discovering our strength, our courageousness, and the ability. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that was an option. But if you're open to it, you have no idea what doors are going to open up for you.
And it gives you a different perspective when you are in the middle of a challenge to understand that not just something great will come of this, but this will strengthen me.
Yes.
I will come out of this better than I came.
And look what it's done for your son. I mean, look what he went through, and he knows that I've been through that. I can face other challenges. I can face whatever comes my way. And it's given him a kind of an inbuilt strength and courageousness that allows him to pursue life.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, I'm going to use the word mummy coddle, although it's not quite the word I want to use, but we're inclined, especially in North America, to coddle our children in giving them too much, don't want to upset them, no discipline. And what I feel has happened in a lot of ways is a lack of respect. And children, we're custodians of our children. We don't own them. We're here to guide them through life the best way we know, and we're going to guide them through life with the knowledge we have. If we don't treat them with respect, how are they going to treat us? If we don't listen to them, how are they going to be willing to listen to us? And that goes with absolutely everything in life, isn't it? If you want to collaborate with someone, connect with people, ride the same path, there has to be that mutual respect and open communication between back and forth with each other. Because otherwise, what have you got? Disconnected parts that aren't meeting up and not connecting.
Exactly. It's funny that I've come to appreciate more and more as I move forward how the right people seem to enter your life needed. And it's only been in recent years that I've understood that our world is all energy.
Yes.
And really that alignment that we find with certain people is because they're on a very similar frequency to us.
On your wavelength.
Yes, exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's when the collaboration can come forth, isn't it? You
Yes.
know, and you don't know if this person completely opposite to you, doing something different, but you feel a connection. So what it is, or how do these Lego pieces fit?
It's 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 the way our world will have to move forward. We have to be able to look beyond what we know today and look to people that may look different, sound different,
Mm-hmm.
have different ideas and concepts. It's the way we will grow. Collaboration is probably the single key to growth as a collective, because it's taking ideas from everywhere.
Collective is collaboration, collectiveness. You really collect
Yes,
and
it's
bring to
true.
the table, right? Look at life as a smorgasbord. You know, it's a buffet. You're not going to eat everything out there, but you know, all of that food is at that one table where you can all partake and celebrate one another. We get in our own way, and we don't think there are other ways of doing it. We don't, you know, I've been redirected so many times in my life, and you know, sometimes kind of feel I'm spinning. Okay, where do you really want me? You know? And for the last 8 years, I found my path and where I'm going. That's why I say it's the core journey now, and I know where I am going and who I am and everything else. But they have to have that willingness to redirect. And you are a person who doesn't necessarily give into the worry, which a lot of other people do. How do you help people redirect to see that, you know, that just taking that journey over there, planting seeds today for tomorrow, and going blind, deaf, and dumb in order to see, hear, and feel, and trust the journey? How do you get people to do that?
it's there's a few components, and one of the components is understanding delayed gratification. Everyone wants it now, and quite literally, everything we seek never arrives when we wish it to.
The Amazon delivery, right? The universe is tapped in, and it's going to be at your door.
It arrives when it is supposed to.
Yes.
And if our perspective is maintained and positive, it will draw us forward. Bruce Lee used to speak about being like water,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
fluid.
Yes.
And that's we can't be so rigid in what we wish. Like I've had many dreams, and it's why I use hope rather than expectation, because hope is replaceable. Expectation is not.
It's
Because when an
dictation as far as
expectation
I'm
is,
concerned.
well, it's true. When
Yeah.
expectation is not realized, you're left at a deficit. You're
Yes.
left at a negative end.
And
But
whose expectation is it? Is it one that's been imposed upon you? Or is it an expectation that you've chosen for yourself? And is it because you think that you should fit into that mold?
it always comes back to us.
Yeah.
It always does. And the idea of looking forward with hope is simply, I hope to achieve this at this time, in this, as a particular example. And you get to that period of time and you have not yet achieved that.
Mm-hmm.
So you either keep moving forward or you redirect, and your hope moves over here
Yeah.
to something else,
Yes.
another time, another thing. Hope allows you to be fluid, whereas expectation closes you in.
Yeah. And I always say that from the moment we're born, we're living in expectation of who we should be, what we should be, how we should be. And I look back and go, but who is dictating this expectation? And when we look at society as a whole that is so dysfunctional, should we not be re-looking at these expectations and saying there's a flaw here? And a lot of it has been through the eons, a control factor. Tell people what you expect of them and have them live their life, life through numbers, because we don't really want them to think for themselves, because the controllers will lose that control on there. And what we're saying to people right now, you actually have no control in life. The only control you have is the fact that you have no control, but you have choices.
Yeah, I really like the way you've put that. It's so true. This is about control, and yet we myself included. I've for so many years I tried to control so much of how I presented myself, and I was very restrictive. I would limit things for myself. I will get this when I do this. When I achieve this, I can have this. When I do that, I can be this. We just need to be.
Why do we go overcomplicate everything so much? You know, what is this? You know, we stepped into an academic world. You know, in about 100 years ago, everybody then, you know, the school is a right. Everybody must go to school. Everybody must learn. You can't get a job unless you've reached this level. You have to have a university degree. You know, all of this have to in order to count, in order to have a good job and be able to do something. And what's happened is everybody's thinking from the chin up. And they've lost that wonderful intuitive connection with their soul, heart, and their spirit, which has its own intellect. And it's back to that collaboration. You know, think of yourself 3D, you know, not a flat ironing board, you know.
It's learning to listen to your heart.
Yes.
And there's a great quote. I'm going to butcher it, but basically, your brain is stupid. Listen to your heart. And
so great.
It's the brain that knows fear. It's the brain that has apprehension. It's the brain that worries.
Yes.
The heart doesn't worry.
But what is the brain? That's the hard
fear.
drive. You know, and the software is the programming. And the programming is what you're programmed in from the moment you're born. It's in your DNA from your family. It's even in past life DNA. And we have to look at it and go, this is old programming. And it needs to be changed because it is no longer functional. And we have to be willing to rechange that program, which means willing to look at everything we know and ask, is it serving me anymore? And if it isn't, let it go and insert a new program of hope, of seeking passion, of seeking purpose, and of being of service to one another.
Completely. And I think it comes down to recognizing patterns as well.
Yes.
That, okay, I'm here. Wow, I've been here before. I've been here actually several times. And it's always turned out this way, which is not the way I want it to turn out. Oh, maybe I changed this pattern. Maybe I don't do it this way anymore, even though this is what's felt right all these years. Maybe this isn't right. Maybe that's been my problem, that I've been rigid within myself.
Yeah. Go with the flow, right? Go with the flow. I mean, imagine if our blood stopped flowing, if the oxygen in our body stopped flowing, and if the air stopped going, if the ocean stopped moving. Everything, energy is movement. Everything in it has to be in a flow. The moment it stagnates, it starts to ferment. So just as important as keeping our bodies moving, we've got to keep our minds moving, and we've got to be willing to tap into the flow. You said earlier, you know, about the simplicity and tapping into things. And I think, you know, one of the wonderful ways of doing it is simply going out in nature and watching children or watching puppy dogs having fun. They're simply in joy. They're simply happy, making mud pies or picking up sticks or doing whatever. And they haven't complicated anything. Why have we put complication in our way, and why can't we find that joy again?
You know, it's a funny thing that you mention that perspective. My outlook on life, the way I package it, if I'm to describe it, is I like to look at the world through 7-year-old eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is always going to be a brighter day.
Oh, yeah.
I have hope for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I still dream. And I don't feel closed in. Everything is possible when you're 7.
Yes.
And I want to maintain that vision of my world through the eyes of that being a 7-year-old. And it isn't about being a man-child or
right. Yeah, exactly.
not maturing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have anything to do with maturity. If anything, maturity gives you the ability to recognize how important it is to see the world this way, to see the world in that light, to see it in a bright light. It isn't darkness.
No.
The world is what we wish to see it. We make it. It's our construct.
Yeah.
And you have a choice that it's bright or it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
It's your choice. It's not, it isn't put upon you. It can be if you accept it, but you don't have to accept it.
Right. I mean, we don't always have control of what happens to us in life, but we do
No.
have control of how we react to it. That's the
100%.
choice, right?
Yes. And people, hear me speak sometimes and say, oh, well, as I mentioned earlier, it must be nice to live in your world. Yeah, but
Yes.
it doesn't mean I don't recognize challenge or difficulty or, I'm not living in a world where I don't see trauma and injustice. These things exist everywhere, but they don't have to weigh me down.
That's the key. I mean, I will still fight for the unjust. I'm still an activist in the way of accountability and support of people who've been done wrong, and counter people for who are doing it wrong. Because if anybody inflicts pain in any form of way on another person, somebody said, what would you wish for in the world? And, it's always a hard one. But one of the things I would say is that for all those that inflict joy on people, may that joy always be felt and be inflicted back upon other people. But also the same with the people who inflict pain. May they feel the pain they inflict because they won't continue to do it.
No, I agree wholeheartedly with that.
I mean, that pain is life experience, and it's people who don't know how to get out of that. They're stuck in that programming. And yes, this happened to you. Who? At any age. Even a child, your son. Look at what you go through in life. And we've got to realize that is a part of life. Don't get stuck in the trauma of it, because while you're busy pointing a finger, it's their fault. There's three pointing back at you. And did you give yourself away to them? Or did you take yourself back and rise above it?
I actually, I don't know how to come back for that one.
But that's part of life experience, isn't it?
It really is. For me, I look back at my past and I learned the moment I took responsibility for everything, even the things I had no control over, the moment I took responsibility for all of it, even things I could easily have blamed elsewhere.
Right. That
moment allowed me to appreciate that all those challenges, all those difficulties built who I am today.
Yeah.
It's what helps me get through the challenges I am going to encounter, I have yet to encounter, that when I'm in them, I don't have to be absorbed by them, but I can look beyond, not just something great will come of this, but I will gain something from this. I'm going through this for a reason.
Yep.
And I'm going to learn from this, and it's going to make me the person I need to be in the future.
And sometimes it's not even something, you're going through something and you're going, wow, why that? It's for you to have understanding and empathy for someone else who's going through it, because you understand.
Yes.
Right? We have to understand some of these experiences is that when you meet people, especially if you are in any form of service to help people find their inner joy and happiness, is that if you can't relate to them or if they can't relate to you, then there isn't going to be that connection where you can uplift them. You can show them a different path, another way. So sometimes we go through things just for us to understand what pain or anguish or despair is, but we've made a choice not to stay there. And that's what we pass on to other people. I understand the feeling. It feels crippling, but you don't have to stay there. This is what I did to get out of it.
100%. I know exactly how you feel. I've been through it, and this is what I've found.
Yes.
And when you've walked someone's path that they're beginning or in the middle of, and you've navigated your way, maybe in the wrong direction for a bit, and then corrected it, you're able to help them avoid perhaps that wrong turn.
Yeah.
And guide them into that right turn.
We're all going to have potholes, but what you're trying to do is have them avoid the Grand Canyon.
Yes. Yeah, you're not getting out of that. You go in that, yeah.
You've done a lot of wonderful videos, just, you know, a couple of minutes long, each one of them, and they're, you know, speaking to various things. And one here I've put on the posting, which I found rather wonderful, was just the together we are stronger, because this is the message that we're needing to hear now. But is this what, you know, your new site is all about? The just messages of love and affirmation and support?
Ideally, what I've come to realize with going through these videos is, for me, where the value lies on my side of it after producing it is the engagement that occurs, especially when it's put up through LinkedIn. Not yet so much on YouTube, but that's starting to occur now, where comments are coming in there. But the engagement via LinkedIn is strong. But what I've found so enriching is, and you touched on this earlier, how 3 different people can watch the same piece of information, the same video, and they all got something different from it. That's associated, and I get to learn about this because of how they relate their story to what they've just seen. And I think, wow, that person saw this and heard this. This person heard this over here. What I'm endeavoring to put forth is information that when a person is ready for that information, they will find their way there. And whether it's the topic is worry, or the topic is passion, or you know, the idea that something great will come of this. Today may not be the day for you to hear that message, but the day you do hear it,
it's there for you.
Will hopefully resonate. Or sometimes you'll hear a message and it doesn't resonate right away, but it sits back there. It sits in your subconscious. And then something occurs where that's brought forward. I want to have that sort of impact where, and I don't need a phone call or a message saying, oh my gosh, thank you. I've learned that the best way to give is to give without expectation.
1000%. I mean, you know, you're doing in small snippets what I'm doing in long, you know, because at least my shows are at least an hour long each. But it's by sharing somebody else's why. You know, the best teachers in life are those that have gone through it, because they understand. They can show you, you know, which path to. I mean, you've got to walk it. But, you know, not everybody that you're going to listen to is you're going to have an affinity with. There's going to be maybe just one thing said. And that becomes a moment in your life that is a shift. And so what you're doing with your videos, which are nice, short, sweet snippets for people kind of on the go, I'm doing in the long storyline here. And the same reason, I want people to know there are solutions. We know what the problems are, but how do we get through it? How do we resolve it? What do we learn from it? What is our why? And that's the reason why I share people like you, because you're sharing your why you're doing it, what you're doing, and whom it serves. And that means that somebody out there is going to go, you know, 2 or 3 minute video of kind of perspective of affirmations. It's just maybe what I need to set my day.
I recognize that in 2 or 3 minutes, you can't necessarily talk about everything in a subject at all. But what I've come to appreciate, which is when we actually launched the channel, we launched the channel at that time with 30 some odd videos, because it was the collective of videos that I had been posting on LinkedIn. And the reason we waited was to have a library there. So, because I speak of very similar themes in different ways. I speak about worry in several different posts. I speak about the idea of something great will come of this. I say it in different ways, but it's said throughout different posts. And my hope is that someone gets something and they go, oh, well, maybe I'll listen to this now, or whatever pops up on the screen for them next, or when they're on their channel, if they're a subscriber, something gets populated there. And I really do believe that we're presented with what we're supposed to be presented with.
Yeah, it's like I go into a bookstore and I just go up and down the aisles and there's a book that says, hey, pick me, you know, and that's another big word of allow. Allow things to come to you or be guided to something. Don't dictate how it should be all the time. That's again, letting go of the clenches and letting things go with the flow. Tap into the flow, allow, and you will be led to where you need to be when you need to be there.
Yes. You're speaking to someone who's controlled so much of his life for so long. And I'm still a very disciplined person, but the discipline I utilize now is freeing, not confining.
Yes.
Discipline can be the most freeing thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Because you structure these little pieces of day.
Yes.
And it allows you greater freedom for the rest of the day. And
I think it also allows for creativity too.
Yes.
I mean, everything needs a foundation, doesn't it? I mean, you know, if you want to build something, you can't just build it from the sky down. You know, you need a foundation there, you know, the blueprint. You know, what is the blueprint? And then what needs to come first in this foundation? You know, because again, you know, you're a visualer, I'm a visualer. We can see the whole picture. Everybody's moved into the hotel, they're having a great time, we've seen it, everything, right? But it's like, no, we've got to build a foundation first, and that's the structure. And when you have that structure in your life, you are building every single moment of your life, which allows you, like the willow tree, to be the branches that sway and go with the flow.
Yes. And for me, I think such a key to personal development, personal growth in any factor, physical, emotional, mental, is not just appreciating delayed gratification, but understanding that every piece of movement is movement forward. And often you will not see day to day, you will not recognize those changes.
Yeah.
But when it's stretched over a broad period of time, all of a sudden it's, oh, I was there. Oh, and now I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if we could better utilize our memories and recognize, oh, I remember when I was starting this and how difficult it was. But then I ended up over here. And that could have been years ago, but that recollection can be associated with what's going on today.
Absolutely. And you know, that's where, you know, pride of your accomplishments can come in. You know, as I was saying before we started that I'm now in June here, 7th year of my own network, 8 years of hosting, but 7 years of my own network. The way I first started out was totally Mickey Mouse. You know, literally, I'm a person who learns as she goes. And I've built a structure that works and that's more solid and can have a broader outreach. But I had to allow myself to take the journey and learn and apply and delete and move this one here and move that one there. But if you're driven by the heart of the reason why, the how, what, when, and where will come to be, and you'll understand where it needs to be when it needs to be there.
100%. We are often so held up by not understanding how we will get to that point, that vision, that perspective. And I've come to realize that it isn't about that. So even the concept that I started to develop a year ago with my partner, that the YouTube channel is a part of, that the EJO Zone website is a part of. They're properties of a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And that bigger picture has evolved as we've built this.
Yeah.
Even the idea of that channel was in me 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And although there are some similarities to what I had in my mind, it is so different.
It's got its own wings, right?
So much better.
Yeah.
And I've had people recently ask me, well, why do you do what you do on LinkedIn? Because that's where it started, posting on LinkedIn. Why? Like, I'm not getting paid for that. And I wasn't selling anything. I'm not a coach. I wasn't selling a service. And I said, you know, what do you want from it was the question I was being asked. And my answer was, and it wasn't satisfactory to this person until the third time, was that I want what will come of it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because it makes me feel good. And like things like what I'm doing here with you. I'm here with you I didn't see this coming. But I'm so grateful for this opportunity to have, your listeners, your viewers hear my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And not that it's the be all and end all and I'm all that in a bag of chips, but maybe something in what I'm saying affects someone in a positive way.
You're somebody's bag of chips.
Well,
that's the point. I say I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's strong cup of black coffee. And that's the thing is that if somebody is anywhere near your frequency, they will hear you. They'll need to hear you. You will be that bag of chips for them. But it doesn't mean you're going to be the bag of chips for everyone, because it all depends where people are on a certain level of life. And for those that are ready to hear that message, they will be there to hear it. Yeah, I get people, how many people listen to your show? And I go, all those that are ready to hear. And that's all we can do. We put it out and it's there for all that are ready to hear the message. That's all we can do.
No, and it comes from working within.
Yes. Life is an inside job.
It's becoming
yeah.
what I need to be to do what I'm destined to do.
Right.
It's becoming the person I need to perhaps have that relationship that I so desire. That the relationship I desire requires me being who I need to be to accommodate that relationship.
Right.
And until I'm there, I won't find it.
It's the journey again, isn't it? I mean, it's like if you get up in the morning and go, like, every second of my day is now accounted for. Now, I have a routine, obviously, running this. But I never know what's going to happen in this. If I do a show, talk to someone like you, where is it going to go? I have no control of that. We're just going with the flow. But if we're rigid in the way we look at life, and by 30 I must be here, and by 40 I must be there, and I must have this, is that you're living a life of a different importance. The importance of self is nurturing, loving, guiding and seeding and growing yourself from the inside out. Self-importance is being driven by the ego, and it's being driven by insecurity, and it feels that I have to be there for anyone to take notice of me. I have to be there to be important. No, you don't.
No.
All you're doing is wearing yourself out, as you know.
You touched on something, or it triggered something in me associated with age. Mm-hmm. How I've quite literally reinvented myself in the last few years, more so in the last 12 months than the previous 20 years. My personal growth through 2019 up until now has been far greater than the culmination of the 20 previous years. Mm-hmm. And it's because of what I needed to do. And it would be very easy to say, at any point, well, but I'm here. And I've had so many people, I've heard so many people that age themselves. Yes. That, I can't do it. I'm too old for that. And
I started this new platform of mine at the age of 57. I'm 65 now, going on 66. Okay, physically, I have a few challenges there, and I can't do physically what I used to do. But I'm doing what I'm meant to do. I'm doing it from a place of love and that core. And I'm doing something that I'm more joyous about than I've ever done before. Age is just a number. But you've got to understand, if you're willing to take the journey, you may have the knowledge in your head, but what you really want is the wisdom to understand what that knowledge means and how to apply it. So age is a gift. Stop looking at it as being something that is going to, knitting needles or playing the round of golf. It's living. And it's living on your own terms, and it's living in a way I'm really doing what I want and love to do now, and I can really share that knowledge with other people. So I think it's a gift of getting older. I do, especially in these days.
It comes down to removing self-limitation.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
That stop saying I'm too old to do this, I'm too old to try that. You are what you say you are.
Yes.
If you say you're too old, you will be. You can't. We all know that one.
Oh, yeah, we do. I can't. Okay, then all right, I can't. Yeah. I mean, look at the movie business. There was a time period that once a woman reached 30, she was obsolete. you know, and it was okay for a guy to go a little bit longer with the gray hair because it was meant to be sexy. A woman had a wrinkle or gray hair, that's it, out with the water. But look at the people now that are still acting. Betty White, you know, I think she's turning 96 or something. And so many others still acting in their 80s and their 90s, and they're still bringing joy to us. Why? Because they're still in a state of joy of what they're doing.
Completely. Clint Eastwood, 90.
Yeah. Make my day. I was brought up with him on the spaghetti westerns. So.
Oh, yeah. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes. Yeah. Great music. Well, I think that's the thing is, don't put a number on yourself. Don't put a restriction on yourself. You may have to work within some parameters.
Yes.
But look to what you want to do, can do. What lights you up every day? What gives you a reason to get up every day to do it? And pretty well your purpose, if it's in service of others and others benefit from it, will be the greatest joy you will ever have.
I could not agree more.
It's the fuel, isn't it? The nectar.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a form of selflessness that is tied to that. Mm-hmm. But it's once you understand that if you taking care of you isn't selfish. Self-care, self-love is not selfish.
No.
It allows you to be selfless because you're better equipped to handle everything else.
And that's a new teaching for a lot of people, you know, especially my age. It was the permission to give yourself to be important in your own life, because we were taught that it was always about sacrifice. And, you know, and then the pendulum swung the other way, and we had a generation that was kind of rather selfish. And now we're seeing that pendulum swing a little bit more evenly. And with the COVID, I mean, we've lost far too many people, and a lot of that could have been prevented, but that's another story. But what has it done? It's brought people together. You know, sayings come to me, and I do a poster of them, and a saying came to me: the universe is here to shake us up, to wake us up, to step up and change it up. We're being shaken up. We're being asked to step up. We're certainly waking up, and we've now got to change it up. Look at the people that have stepped forth, either putting on performances or supporting financially, providing meals, being there for other people, all the people that you kind of just dismissed in life, the people at the grocery store, or the people at the coffee shop, or the nurses. They are now the heroes, as they should be, because we rely on them daily. Perspective has changed. And I think this whole change it up right now, look at the planet, the ozone's closed. It's closed. It just took 6 weeks of humans to be inside. That's all. Yeah. So what we need right now is to look at the gift of time we've been given. What can we renew about ourselves? What redirection can we go in that's not only going to make our own lives better, but better in collaboration with others, with our community?
Gift is the key word.
Yes.
Recognizing life is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
That change is what we determine it is, whether it's either a gift or it's trauma. And although there are difficulties, there are lives lost that we're not going to get back. Yep. However, I do believe with all of my being that we are going to come out so far ahead of where we were. And, you know, everyone talks about this new normal. Yeah, the new normal will become normal, but that new normal will have so many great components. And there's going to be a transitional period where there's going to be some things that aren't so nice in the way we have to conduct business, perhaps, or how we shop, or how we greet other people. But that will evolve, and it will swing back to where it should be. And I'm a hugger.
Yes, me too.
I was talking to a great friend today that I haven't seen in months. And I shared with him, I said, oh man, I cannot wait to hug you. And that day will come again. Yeah. It's not here now. And we'll get through this period where we're not hugging each other in public right now. Nope. But we will get back there. We will, those things will come back, and there will be new things adopted that will improve our lives.
But and we'll be more grateful for it.
Yes.
That hug,
Yes.
we won't take it for
Ah,
granted. You know, that going to a restaurant, we won't take for granted. You know, our grocery store people, we won't take for granted. Our first responders, we won't take for granted. That freedom out there, it's not go back to, I mean, and we've seen this, you know, people, thousands of people on a beachfront and the garbage they've left behind. You know, those are people that still need a longer lesson. And they're getting it because a lot of them have got the virus because they're not respecting this invisible um, pandemic that is there. And really, what have we been asked to do? We've been asked to isolate ourselves and now slowly kind of emerge out there, wash our hands, which we should have all known in the first place, right?
yeah.
And you know, if you've got a cold or anything else, don't go out. How many people go to work or go to school with snotty
Well,
noses and a cold and they just take a pill and
we were
still go to
brought up
work?
that way. We were
We
brought up
were,
that way.
but now
Yeah,
we
suck it
know,
up. Just
and
go
you know,
on. You're,
now
you're not dying.
exactly, you know, green snot's coming out of your nose, you're okay, you can go to school. No, you know, it's
Oh,
now it's going to be stay home and get better because we don't want to see the flu pandemic going around. And you know that you can work from home or just simply go and get better. And we're going to see more production in the workforce with people taking care of themselves than trying to work through a thick head and a snotty nose and on drugs. I'm
I
looking
think
forward to these changes.
I think it's also forced so many people to look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I, even though I've not always loved myself, I'm at a point in my life where I love who I am now. I didn't always. I always felt I was a good person, but I did not.
Connect with you.
There was so much stuff. But one thing I've always had is I've been good with my own company.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known so many people that were so petrified of being alone with themselves. Not alone in the world, just alone with
Mm.
themselves. And I believe that this time has forced so many of those people to recognize that challenge and learn to overcome it. Learn to reflect and identify where growth is required, but also reflect and say, wow, I've got that in me. Oh, I can do this. And develop that inner strength. I really believe our greatest superpower is our inner voice. And it can
Mm-hmm.
be a villain or it can be a hero. And too many have allowed that inner voice to be their villain,
Yeah.
to shut them down, to hold them back, to belittle them from within. And learning to take control of that voice, to acknowledge that you've got all the tools within you, you've got the strength, you've got all the strength you need to achieve all you wish to achieve. You may not have all the tools in your kit yet, but you have enough tools to acquire the new
Right.
tools.
And then with what you're doing with these videos that are short and sweet, as I said, somebody can listen to 2 or 3 of them in the morning while they're doing their breakfast, you know, or on the way to work or whatever. They're just resets. You know, you may work out, you've had, you know, not much sleep last night and you just listen to something and it just whoosh, shifts you back into the right gear or just sets you on another path. And that's what we need, because that's the encouragement, that's the support, and we need that encouragement out there. I mean, there are so many people I know right now that are being brave. You know, they're being brave, and they're out there working their guts out. And we're going to see a lot of post-traumatic stress amongst our first responders at the end of this. And we want to continue to be there for them and for anyone else with the aftermath of everything. And so don't be afraid to consume words of wisdom. Don't be afraid to listen to other people and what they've done to go through it, because all of that is supporting you and helping you walk forward in your own life.
Oh, 100%. So much of what I speak to is what I've gathered from others, how it's affected me, what I've heard. Their words are here. I hear this. It comes in here, and then I use my version of it.
Right, you project out. Mm-hmm.
And what I find so very interesting with the content that I produce, because it all comes from my life, but I've come to notice that themes are often carried forward. I may present something, and then like that same day, I see either another video or read an article that's speaking to the same concept.
Yes. Yes.
We didn't talk to each other.
No.
Um,
It's they're all in those vibrations, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's also part of it right now. You know, it's raising our frequency, raising our vibration. And the more we do that, the more we connect with other people on those wavelengths. And the more we do that, the more we ricochet and ripple out those good vibrations. And that's really what, you know, that support is, loving care is, being there for people is. It's, you know, caring, kindness, and love is a frequency that resonates at a higher pitch. And when we practice that, become it, and do it, we are elevating and expanding all the time. So if we want to be part of the solution to what ails the world, we need to be a solution to ourselves and share it with others.
And I really believe the collective mindset is moving specifically in that direction.
Yes, I do too.
Using the word love in business conversation was not something you ever did before.
No.
Yet it's part of my daily conversation now. That I've come to appreciate that love is the greatest energy in our universe. Yes. It is the strongest energy.
Yeah.
And it's important in all aspects of our life, including business, where we would never speak of love in business before.
Right. No.
But but it's not just you and me saying these things. There are more and more people that are on this frequency, that are understanding these things, that are seeing the same things we're seeing. Yes. as a collective.
Yeah.
That we're having such a positive evolution in our world right now. And yes, there are difficult things that we're all going through, but I really believe that our planet is moving forward in such a healthy, positive way, unlike ever in history before. I really believe that we have such great hope ahead of us, that the idea that people are starting to understand the idea of the universe. And, you know, for me, I see God and the universe as one. Yeah. It's energy. It's all energy. Yeah. It's all being.
God, universe, spirit. Yeah.
It's not about having to separate those things, but understand that they're all one whole.
Yeah.
And more and more people are starting to understand spirituality more than religion.
Yeah. And understand it's an energy that we're living on. Scientists are beginning. I can measure that spirituality. It's not woo-woo kumbaya. It's an elevation of frequency that when you're in that, you can't knowingly do harm to other people when you're in that state of love.
And there's no divisiveness in it.
No. And again, that doesn't mean that you don't approve of certain actions, but you don't go to the hate of it, you know, because that's a vibration that's too shattering. You can be disapproving, you can hold people accountable, you can hold yourself accountable, but you come from a place of love, not from the place of hate.
100%. And that will make the difference to our planet's future.
Yes. All right, my love. So how do people find these wonderful videos? When is the site going to be up? Because I know right now you're in the final works with this.
So
give us all the details.
So ejozone.com, EJO, which is my initials, zone.com, can be visited now. And there is a sign up there. And basically what that sign up will give you is not a bombardment of emails, not a bombardment of anything. We don't want to, but it will notify you when we're moving forward. You'll be essentially the first to know that the site has been launched. You'll be the first to realize that EJO Zone experience. And really what this site is about is tying itself to the YouTube channel, having a blog version of what I've been vlogging for this last year. And really the whole concept of the site is to elevate one's spirit. And really you will find in it what you're supposed to find in it.
Yeah.
Not what I'm going to tell you is there for you. It really, it's coming from a place we developed this, and I say we because although it's the EJO Zone and it's the ejozone.com, and I have a partner that like when I produce a video, I'm the face and the
Mm-hmm.
voice and the words, but the look, the editing,
Mm-hmm.
and even a lot of the idea of it is shared with my partner, who wants to remain anonymous for now. I know, but
Background producer.
she's brilliant, and I'm so very fortunate to have her in my life. And when we came together with the original concept that the EJO Zone .com, the EJO Zone YouTube channel, that these are properties of, our whole concept was building something that would help elevate people's spirits, that would be able to let them see another way. And we never once thought about how can we make money from this.
Right.
And make no mistake, listen, money's right up there with oxygen. I'm not an anti-money person. I love the finer things in life.
Yes.
And it's
We
not
have to
about
eat. We have to have a roof over our heads.
money is not evil.
No,
I don't believe that. And it's okay to gain financial wealth as long as you use it well.
Right.
And it doesn't mean you can't have something nice for yourself, but do something nice as well.
Exactly.
So it wasn't about that we're so altruistic that we don't care about money, but we recognize that if we pursue our passion, it will lead us to the destination we are supposed to find ourselves in, and the money will come.
Right.
And none of it has been designed to figure out how we will make money from this. It's all been designed to put forth a positive message.
Right.
And in so doing, there will be some remuneration that will come from it at some point. There will be ways for us to monetize these properties, but that's not what our purpose is. And I lived that world. I lived in a world where everything I did was, okay, if I'm going to put this forth here, this amount of time, what am I going to get out of it?
Yeah. What's in it for me?
It was such a broken way to live.
Yeah.
And it's what got me away from what I was doing that I didn't enjoy when I was in the insurance industry, which I believed it was a great industry, but it ceased being what it should be for me.
Right.
And I knew I needed to move on. And when I moved on, financially, it was a devastating, because I cut it off. and if anyone knows anything about insurance, that's residual money that's just rolling like a machine. But it's also a trap.
Yes.
And to get away from that was the best thing I ever did in my life, for me. And looking forward to what I've built, what if I can impart anything regarding the EJO Zone or EJOZone.com, is it's not about what I can take from you. It's hopefully what you can get from it.
Yes. And you know, as we've said before, it will be whatever people need is what they will get from it. You know, what they need is what they will get, and that's the important thing. So it's the same.
The way there.
Yeah, and that, you know, it's like having everybody eating one dish. Everybody's going to enjoy a different taste out of it. You know, so it's not about feeding everyone, but it's about you know, people partaking and getting what they need out of it. And again, that's all we can do. All we can do is put it out there. Then it's up for people on how they pick it up and what they do with it. So you also go by EJO and your surname, Copny, on LinkedIn.
Yes. So on LinkedIn, it's Edward J. Okopny. My Instagram is EJO Quotes. So my initials play into pretty well everything I do, obviously. It is.
Makes it easier.
It makes it. I don't forget. But the reason that everything is tied to that is because everything that is produced through me is a reflection of me.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And that reflection of what I'm putting out there, it comes from what I'd like to believe is a good place, not a place of selfishness, a place of growth. A place of understanding that I was not always the person I needed to be. I've become who I should be. And I strive to obviously be better. And that's what I would hope. Like, if you go to my LinkedIn page, by example, my about it's not a piece of my resume. It really is a piece of me.
Yes. Well, as far as I'm concerned in business, people have to buy you first before they buy anything from you. And if they don't find you authentic, or you're just not for them, they ain't going to purchase. So, that's the way business is being done now. The authenticness, it's about relationships. It's about, putting yourself out there. It's not about, well, how much do I get? That way of thinking is going by the wayside, and the money will come, right? But if you don't make that right connection first, then it's not going to be there. So that's the way it is in life. That's part of that new change, which I think, the enrichment and the abundance that you're in right now has got nothing to do with money. That enrichment and abundance you're in now, you're going to pour out and share it with other people so that they may find the enrichment within them.
Completely. And we've spoken about this so many times around, and a great friend shares it in this way, has shared it in this way with me, and it's actually part of her messaging, is finding our tribe.
Yes.
Finding our people. The right people will hear our messaging. The right people hear what we're trying to say.
Yep.
And the wrong people won't.
Right.
And it's like my tagline, International Man of Mystery on LinkedIn. Some people will read that and go, like, really? Who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then others will look at that and go, oh, he's funny.
What's the mystery? What's the mystery? I gotta know.
I gotta find out about it. And you know what? Those are my people.
Yeah,
the people
exactly.
that look at it and go,
yeah, well, as I say,
I don't need you to find me.
Right, but precisely, that's what I say about, orchestra. When you play your instrument and you join an orchestra, it's not going to be music for everyone's ears, but it's certainly going to be music for those ears that are ready to receive that message. So
I love that perspective. That idea of it being an orchestra is such a beautiful way of looking at it.
Hello. Thank you so much for sharing with us here today, Edward.
I'm grateful for the time I've had with you. Thank you so very much. I'm honored by the invitation, and I've had a ton of fun with you.
Wonderful, great. And I can't wait for the site to come out. I have posted on your posting the We're in It Together video, which I think everybody needs to hear right now. But of course, then go to your YouTube and catch all the others. And of course, everything will come up out on the site soon. So dip in, get your toes wet, and just see how you feel afterwards. And nothing gained if you're not willing to venture. So thank you, Edward. Until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows, and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.